biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
Rev, when's the last time you got laid?
French Toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Bro,
like-
less people wanted that than are currently watching our
Hey,
streams.
bro. And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mark It Down podcast. I'm James Gisanti, and we are here Wednesday night to cover AEW Dynamite. I thought this was a Dynamite episode. That was awful, and I'm sorry. This is what happens when I host Dynamite on my own. You don't get this awkwardness when Rev is doing it. But I did think tonight's episode was great. I thought we got a lot of in-ring action. I thought we got a lot of good storytelling, and the race is on to All In. We are going ahead, full throttle, all hands on deck. Everybody, every story is getting pushed, and I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. There are a lot of people who we weren't really sure of where they're going to be headed towards All In, where they're going to land. We're starting to get a little clearer. We're starting to get a little more. Clarification. And one of the matches we already knew, one of the matches we were already expecting, and one of the storylines that has definitely had the most progress, got a little bit more as we started the show, as MJF opened up the show as our American champion. Yep, that is still a thing. That belt is still hideous. And he is deciding to match the look as he came out draped in American attire. Like the suit was red, bright red. He had eagles on the side. He was wearing a blue shirt. He's really landed into this America's champion shtick. And for better or for worse, it's just another facet of him being a prick. It's working for him. The promo that he cut was a lot of the same as what we saw last week. You know, he's proud to be America's champion, but not this part of America. He doesn't care about the South. And quite frankly, it's an uphill battle that AEW is fighting with this crowd. They've been in the South. They're going to continue to be in the South, I think, for at least another week or so. And the crowd wants an American champion. The Southern crowds have been eating up America's champion, MJF. And he's trying. He's saying, not this part of America. I mean, Long Island. I mean, anywhere but here. But they don't care. They're into it. So really weird uphill battle. Really weird timing for this shtick to go on. But MJF does his best and he tries. He did talk about, other than just shit-talking the crowd, he did talk about not wanting to face Ospreay at All In, but being ready to face Ospreay at All In and being ready to beat him at All In, the same way you beat him a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, we do have the Rev here tonight in the comments. Thank you for being here, Rev. But he didn't get to say too much as he's insulting the crowd. Will Ospreay sprinted to the ring, and MJF hightailed it out of there, going to the top of the ramp by the Tron, and Ospreay picked up a mic, and he says basically the disrespect that MJF showed last week was awful, and not just towards him and not just towards the stuff he said about his grandmother, but the international championship. That international championship that MJF threw away into the garbage. He said that the international championship had two things, lineage and legacy. He then starts talking about all the past international champions that have done what they could to make that belt as prestigious as possible. We have Kris in the comments saying, get well soon, Sky Blue, after having ankle surgery yesterday. Yeah, I agree with you, Kris. Yeah, Sky Blue, feel better, quick recovery, and we know you'll be back better than ever as soon as you can. So good luck to you, Sky Blue. And Kyle Fletcher definitely was singing her praises today, but we'll get to that in a second. As Ospreay lists off all the international champions. He goes through Pac, Orange Cassidy, John Moxley, Ray Fenix, Roderick Strong, himself, all these people that have worked so hard to make that belt a worthy championship, and MJF literally threw it in the trash. At this point, the crowd started chanting USA, USA, USA. And again, just goes to show, weird place to be doing this. Weird place to be doing this. And then Ospreay did roll with it. He did his best to make it work. He was going on about he respects the USA. He respects that USA spirit, that American spirit, but MJF doesn't. And then he says when it's time and they meet at Wembley in London, he is going to bring the fight to MJF and he's going to reclaim that championship. Nice babyface promo from Will Ospreay, who is doing his best with the crowd, who was kind of into MJF. Being the foreigner, trying to bring back a foreign title in a very patriotic part of the United States is always going to be a gamble. And it's always going to be a risk, so much so I literally can't think of another instance where that was a thing. But he did his best. The crowd didn't boo him. They might not have given him all the love, but they didn't boo him. So I called it a win in my book. You go, Will Ospreay, who definitely needed the support as he went on to take the fight to the Murder Hawk monster himself, Lance Archer, in the first matchup of the night. Now, guys, these two men have history. They've wrestled before. They wrestled probably Lance Archer's best match ever in New Japan, or one of his best matches ever in New Japan, during the G1 before Lance Archer left for AEW. This was at a time where Lance Archer was not considered to be anything more than the muscle of a group, the muscle of Suzuki-gun, half of a tag team that people didn't really care all that much for. That match with Ospreay allowed the audience to see Archer in a completely different light because he brought his A game. And I'd say he did the same thing tonight. This was a strong showing for Archer. In fact, I'd say it's one of Archer's best matches in a long time. Now, granted, when you're Will Ospreay, you're going to bring the heat. You're going to bring out the best in your opponent, and I think he certainly did that with Archer tonight. Archer was definitely bringing the pain, definitely bringing a beating to Ospreay throughout the first half of this match. It was a beatdown. It was a one-sided affair, as Archer was just using his size, strength, and power to just keep Ospreay at bay. He countered a lot of Ospreay's quick offense, a lot of his fast offense, where Ospreay would try to high fly, he would try to speed up, and Archer had an answer for pretty much anything. We have a comment from Mark It Down, who should probably be under the BX account. It's hard for Ospreay to be a foreigner against the guy pushing America, even if it's the douchey upper class part. It's almost a reverse Bret Hart heel in America, face in Canada. That's not a bad point, Rev. I do agree. It's again, it's so weird because we're talking about the guy he's facing, but MJF is a heel in every part of the world except Long Island. So it's a tough act to play, but I think Ospreay did his best. But yeah, he countered everything Ospreay had to throw at him. Hitting a choke slam on Ospreay pretty much right out the gate, by the way. And that's what sort of established the defense for Ospreay. There was a second excellent choke slam where Ospreay was going for an Oz cutter, and Archer is able to just catch him in the air and choke slam him. I have not seen Archer look this good. I have not seen Archer look this versatile in a minute, and he brought it. He absolutely brought it against his much faster opponent. Ospreay looking like a real underdog here. It wasn't until midway after a commercial break where Ospreay was able to really regain any level of momentum as he hit an out-of-nowhere Spanish fly onto Lance Archer. Now, guys, you know what a Spanish fly is. It is a backflip. The majority of the time, it is your opponent doing a lot of the work to get this going. Lance Archer did a front flip right in the middle of the ring, and it looked smooth as hell. It was a great setup, and it was a great matchup. As we progress, Archer attempts to go for the third chokeslam of the match, this time from the top rope, but Ospreay is able to counter into another Spanish fly off the top rope, but only get a 2 count. He then goes for an Os cutter that this time does connect, but again, only a 2 count. He then finally goes for a hidden blade. Oh, I'm not paying attention to Twitter. Can you go ahead again, producer boy? Yeah, that was a massive choke slam, as this tweet shows Lance Archer attempting to put Ospreay through the mat with a massive, massive choke slam. But then Ospreay, after getting another 2 count with an Os cutter, goes for a hidden blade. And as he goes for the pin, barely gets a 1 count, guys. Barely has him down for a 1 count as Archer powers his way through that pin. Ospreay is in disbelief, but doesn't allow himself any moment of hesitation. He runs back to the corner, pulls off his elbow pad, hits another hidden blade, and is finally able to put down the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer, and get the 1, 2, 3 and the dub. You go, Will Ospreay. And again, you go, Lance Archer. Absolutely bringing it. As soon as the match was over, MJF rushes the ring, attacks, assaults Will Ospreay, and hits him with a massive brainbuster right in the middle of the ring. MJF then goes to the corner, puts on the Dynamite Diamond ring, and attempts to hit him one more time, but he is interrupted and intercepted by Kyle Fletcher. A Kyle Fletcher who was looking like a bat out of hell, making the save for MJF, who goes flying. He runs out of the ring and goes up the ramp. Fletcher then gets a mic. MJF demanded a mic, but Fletcher starts speaking. He goes to Don Callis, who makes his way down to the ring and doesn't look necessarily thrilled to be there. And he says, I know we're not supposed to get involved with Will. I know he's no longer part of the family, but that man is my best friend. We have this tweet here. Will Ospreay is the best professional wrestler alive, and it isn't close either. If you disagree, why would you stop as I'm talking, as I'm doing it? If you disagree with me, then fight me, bruv. And then it shows Will going for the hidden blade that got the pin. Won't necessarily say Will is the best wrestler alive, but he is up there. Sorry, I'm a mark for Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson. But he says, this man is my best friend. And I'm not going to sit here as MJF is just leaving one of the best wrestlers in the world in a crumpled heap. That man is like a brother to me, even if he is not part of the family. He then goes on to challenge MJF to a fight here and now. And of course, MJF says no. What is this tweet? Slap a 10-minute time limit on that Ospreay Wembley match, brother. Jesus. Why? Why? I know there's a lot of people who aren't thrilled at the 1-hour match that they had at on Dynamite a couple of weeks ago. But that's ridiculous. We got a comment here from BX. The seeds of the Callis, Ospreay, Fletcher storyline are starting to sprout. Yes, and I'm very glad to see it because, quite frankly, I think this was the best that Fletcher has ever sounded on the microphone. He also gets into the America stuff. He delivered a very, very passionate promo, and he said that America has given him all of his dreams. It's given him his girl. It's given him his home. It's given him money, and it's given him success, and now he is going to take the fight to MJF. MJF, of course, in his words, doesn't represent this country, and MJF, being the patriot that he is, of course, ran away from the fight and said, not tonight, nuh-uh. Even though he did do the whole shtick of getting undressed, getting all hyped, he says, not tonight, but next week on Dynamite. As MJF leaves, Fletcher helps Ospreay up. They hug it out. And then Don Callis is still there, looking a little shaky, but Ospreay and him sort of reluctantly shake hands. And that is the end of that segment. Great work from this. I thought this was an excellent matchup. I thought this was a great promo from Fletcher. Again, this is a guy, hold on. This tweet saying MJF was better when he was with Adam Cole. He was very entertaining with Adam Cole. And I think history will hopefully look back on that tag team run of Better Than You, Baby, a lot more favorably than people are looking at it right now because of how the Devil stuff ended. But I love that tag team. I love that run. And I like MJF as a babyface. It's undeniable. I think he's a way better heel. This tweet saying, between Ospreay, Oku and Fletcher, MJF is working overtime to make sure that no matter what the worst match of the year is, he will be involved with it. For once, I believe in it. Jesus Christ. Why are we bringing up this shit? Come on. You okay? No, I didn't mean to bring that up. But yeah, I thought that was a great matchup. I am very much looking forward to Fletcher versus MJF next week. Fletcher is finally starting to hopefully come into his own. I know a lot of people aren't completely sold on him yet, but this tweet saying MJF been cutting the same promo for 5 years, though. He hasn't. He's never really cared about being an American. He's always cared about being a Long Islander. Now he's just disparaging other Americans. It's actually quite funny. One thing I do want to note is that there were fewer fans that were cheering for him this week than last week. Not many, because they still fell for the USA stuff, but it was fine. I loved, by the way, MJF's jacket ripping and it just looking as cheap as it did, and they really tried to sell that. I thought that was a great bit at the end. And yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. I'm rooting for Fletcher to open more eyes. And as Rev said in the comments, I'm looking forward to, Jesus Christ, this picture of JBL holding the U.S. title, wearing an American jacket. Gotta love it. Yes, Chris Leclerc, Kyle Fletcher, and Sky Blue. They are a cute young couple. But yes, moving on, we then have everybody's favorite segment of the night. We had a segment with the Learning Tree. Hi guys. I'm no Rev, but I'm doing my best. And we had all three members of Learning Tree. We had Chris Jericho. Jesus, that's messed up. We had Chris Jericho. Hi, Rev. We had Chris Jericho. We had Big Bill, and we had Bryan Keith. Big Bill holding a cake that showed 102 days as FTW champion as a congratulations to Jericho. He made it known. It's a milestone to hit 100 days as champion, but 102? Now that is an achievement. That is a big milestone in comparison. Big Bill being just an absolute clown. Going back to this last comment from BX that I missed, he said it before. He's been sold on Fletcher since he won the ROH TV title. If he's got his promos down, he'll be gold. Oh, absolutely. I think this kid is part of the future. I think he is absolutely going to be part of the future. I think he is absolutely going to be a name that people are going to look forward to on the marquee every week in the next couple of years. He's already delivering on the action, like you said. So, absolutely. But yes, going back to the Learning Tree, because I guess we have to, he has the cake, and he is singing Jericho's praises. Jericho then gets on the mic, and he talks about, this is, historically, every time there's a cake in a segment, it usually ends up in someone's face, but not tonight. Not tonight. He then talks about last week taking on the murder grandpa himself, Minoru Suzuki, and that he was able to survive with just a broken finger before Shibata got involved in their business. And now Shibata is all alone. He's got no Samoa Joe. He's got no Hook. He's all alone, and the Learning Tree is here to teach him a lesson. It then goes over to the bandit, or I'm sorry, the bad apple, Bryan Keith, who says that next week he's got Shibata one-on-one in a matchup. That's going to be a really fun one, and I'm here for it. I'm hoping that we get a little more out of Bryan Keith moving forward, so definitely something to look forward to. And that'll be all I talk about with the Learning Tree, guys, because no more thank you. We then go into what is probably going to be the most divisive match, or the divisive segment of the night, as we had a CMLL Women's World Championship qualifier match between the champion, Willow Nightingale, and her most recent thorn in her side, former friend, Kris Statlander. Just out the gate, I'm going to actually agree with a few people here. It's weird that this was a qualifier match. Not because I would have rather just seen this be a title match, because I know we all had that drama with Moxley as the IWGP champion a a few months ago, but because we've already seen Stat beat Willow. All you get out of this qualifier match is the likelihood of splitting the match 50-50, splitting the feud 50-50, and setting up a third match, when in reality, maybe this could have been just a title match. And maybe save it for a bigger stage again. I get what they were going for. I get why they had to do it the way they did. I said Bandit. This is Matt's fault because he keeps saying Bandit Keith. This is what happens. It's brain rot, guys. It's these people just infiltrating my noggin, and it's not good for anybody, least of all me. It is the bounty hunter, but no, he is the bad apple regardless now. Yes, Bandit Keith is Yu-Gi-Oh! Thank you. But anyway, back to the action at hand. Right out the gate, before the bell could even ring, Statlander attacked Willow, dropping her on the ropes, and then getting to the top rope herself and hitting a massive flying drop kick. Willow was able to, and she then backed Willow into the corner and just started wailing on her. The women then start to trade blows until they take the action to the outside, where Willow attempts to gain the upper hand by hitting a cannonball against a draped over Statlander who's against the barricade. Statlander is able to dodge it, and Willow goes back first into the barricade as we go to the commercial break. It was gnarly. What is this tweet from Producer Boy? Kris Statlander has, well, nope, we're going to, we're burying the lead, I guess. We're spoiling it out the gate. But yeah. We then, as we come back from commercial break, Statlander is still in control until Willow is able to turn the tides with a massive spine buster. I've said it before. I've been saying it the last few weeks, actually. I really love Willow's spine buster. It's crisp. I mean, in general, I'm a mark for the spine buster. It is my favorite move that isn't a finisher move in all of wrestling. Fun fact for you here at the Mark It Down podcast. But after hitting that massive spine buster, the women are still kind of going back and forth, and Stat is able to turn the tide by getting Willow up for an electric chair drop. Just, again, I keep using this word, massive, but these women were hitting it. Eric in the comments, we're all in the comments. We're jumping ahead with the tweets a little bit, but I'll get there when I get there. After hitting the electric chair drop, she then follows with a scissor kick to the back of Willow's head, but is only able to get a 2 count. Eventually, the women find their way to the apron. They trade blows once again, and Willow this time gains the upper hand by hitting just a gnarly Death Valley driver, dropping her onto the hardest part of the ring. As Stat is recovering from that drop, Stokely gets involved and tries distracting our not our TBS champion, our CMLL champion. All right, we have this tweet, official petition for every Chris Jericho segment to be replaced by a Willow versus Statlander match. Hey, this is a world where we get both, apparently. Monkey's paw, baby. Monkey's paw. But as she is holding Stokely for an awkward amount of time, if I'm going to be honest, she pushed him all the way to the barricade from like halfway down the ring. It was super awkward. It did not look great. And yes, this tweet showing Statlander sort of like pulling at Willow's mouth against the ropes on the bottom rope. Statlander fought a much, as the tweet says, brutal match style than she normally does. Heel Statlander is working slightly different than babyface Statlander, and I love to see changes like that. I love when your alignment reflects your match style. Not just, oh, I'm going to be a cheater, but also, the overall personality, the overall flow of your match is changing. I love stuff like that. I'm going to ignore the exchange in the comments between Eric and Rev. That is between you guys, and I guess your lotion bottles. But after finally finally hitting Stokely upside the head in what felt like a missed spot. Yeah, that was great. That was great from last week. Oh, what are we looking at? Okay. We're going to pull that down. These tweets legit keep derailing me. Stat hits a massive clothesline, dropping Willow, and then finally they get back in the ring. Gaining the upper hand, Statlander goes for a 450 splash off the top rope. She hits it, but only gets a 2 count from our persevering champion, Willow. As the ref is checking on Willow, Stokely secretly, discreetly passes a chain to Statlander. He then goes to distract the referee, giving Stat the opportunity to wrap it around her arm and then hit a spinning lariat onto the champ. She then hides the chain between her legs as she goes for the pin, and she gets the 1, 2, 3, setting up a championship best of 3, I guess now, between Willow. This after the matchup, I'll get to that tweet in a second. That's actually pretty funny. After the matchup, Statlander is handed a chair by Stokely, and then she just goes to town on Willow's back. This brings out security, who tries to get between them, but then Statlander just obliterates them too. Not with the chair, but with her own strength. Just dominating these poor guys. It takes Stokely pulling her off of them for her to eventually let go. And we have our championship match set. I don't know if it's going to be at All In. I don't know if that's been discussed. I don't know if that was officially announced, but I guess it makes sense to put more women on the card itself. Nothing against either 2 of them, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's just a pre-show match, unfortunately, considering the other women's matches that are going to be taking place on the show and the limited amount of time we're going to get. But excellent matchup between the 2 of them. I don't know if I liked it better than their first match, but it was definitely different from their first match. And we're now 50-50, 1 win apiece for both of these ladies. Moving on, we now have what was going to be, of course, a very emotional segment for me, something that I am not mentally, emotionally, or psychologically prepared for, as Bryan Danielson made his way to the ring. We did have a quick little recap of his conversation with Renee from last week, that video that they put out online. We just saw a different part of it. And Bryan acknowledging that he is hurt, he's fixable, and he will be okay as long as he takes it easy until we get to All In. Bryan comes out and he talks about loving this town in North Carolina. This tweet of Bryan talking about bringing back the Goosebumps bit that The Rock is so famous for. But Bryan talks about loving this town and not just saying it for a cheap pop, but genuinely loving it because this is where he and his wife, Brie, had their engagement photos done, and he loves their area. He then talks about Brie a little bit more, and that he wants to talk about 2 things, presence and promises. He says one of the things he recognizes is that a lot of people don't understand or don't recognize when they're in the quote-unquote good old days, the good old days of anything, of life, and that he's had a very blessed career. He's been very lucky, and that, yes, he had to retire, but since retiring and since being able to come back from that retirement, he has been able to be present. All these years since coming back from that retirement, he has been able to enjoy and be present for all of these massive moments in his career. Ignoring that tweet, ignoring that comment as well. This then brings the crowd out going hard with the "Thank you, Bryan" chants, and you could tell, or at least Bryan's become a very good actor. Bryan seemed very touched by it. He says he'll never understand what gets this support from the crowd, but he appreciates it. He then moves over to the other one, promises. And he spoke about his promise to stop wrestling full-time to his daughter, that when she turned 7, that would be it. That would be it for full-time wrestling. He also said that he promised his family that this would be his last wrestling contract. This tweet saying, John Cena retiring Bryan Danielson, talking about retirement. Please, my mental state can only handle so much. Oh, I'm a wreck. I'm a wreck. Yes, this tweet is absolutely on the money. I am a broken human being. all these people I grew up loving, all these people I grew up respecting are not calling it quits because that's not it, but they're getting ready to hang it up, and I'm not ready. This tweet saying Randy better not be next. I think we still got a couple more years with him. Thankfully, that recovery time he did seemed to have done wonders for his body and his desire to be in the ring. So awesome stuff for Randy. But Bryan talks about this being his last contract, and he promised his family it would be his last contract. In fact, this last contract that he signed expires tomorrow. And that's legit, guys. His contract is expiring August 1st. It's been well reported by the wrestling media, the wrestling news outlets. This tweet saying it's pretty crazy because Bryan Danielson just said he's never wrestling again. Bro, Jesus. I'm going out of order here. Bryan talked about when he got to AEW, he made two promises. One, he was going to kick a lot of people's heads in. And two, he was going to win the AEW World Championship. And he's fulfilled half of that promise, half of that delivery by kicking a lot of people's heads in. But no, he hasn't won the AEW World Championship yet. He says this is his last chance. The doctors don't want him to wrestle. His family doesn't want him to wrestle. But he promises to go to Wembley and be present and give 100% of himself, and that he will be all in at All In. Great stuff. Great promo by Bryan. And that was a great segue, a great introduction for Swerve, who comes down with Nana to interrupt the proceedings. A Swerve who we did see at the Mark It Down with other members of the Mark It Down podcast at House of Glory this last weekend. Swerve, just a machine, traveling from San Diego to New York, down to Florida, and down to North and up to North Carolina for this Wednesday. This man has been all over the country. He is exhausted. He just wants to play PlayStation, but he is a dedicated champion. The crowd initially starts chanting for Swerve, saying, "Whose house? Swerve's house," until Bryan quietly starts a yes chant. A yes chant, which I'm going to take a second here because we do go on tangents when I'm by myself. Bryan has recently went to copyright or went to trademark the yes, yes, yes. We'll see if he actually gets it. We'll see if he'll be able to challenge WWE for it. From what I've gathered, from what people are speculating, Bryan probably has only gone this far and has attempted to grab it because he's pretty confident he will get it, and he's confident that WWE won't interfere for it. And man, Wembley going all in with the yes chance is going to be insane. 80,000 or close to 80,000 people doing the yes chance in London. It's going to be a hell of a moment, a hell of a highlight reel moment for Bryan and his career. But as we get the yes chance, Swerve starts to speak, and he says that he respects Bryan. He says he was even inspired. He'll go as far as to say he was inspired by Bryan. And he says that if this was any other time, he'd actually be rooting for Bryan to win the title and have his moment. But this is Swerve Strickland's time. He said he would win the AEW title, and he did. He promised that when he got to AEW. He says that Bryan may be the greatest of his time, but Swerve is one of a kind. In 10 years, people will go back and just rewind to make sure they're watching Swerve matches. He says that Bryan promised to kick people's heads in, but he couldn't handle it when people started kicking back. He said, this belt isn't an achievement award. It isn't something you get for showing up for 25 years. It shows you're the best in the world, and Swerve is the best in the world. He said that Bryan challenged Will Ospreay, and they had a classic, but he lost and he got hurt. He says that he fought Will Ospreay, and he won. He says that Bryan lost at Anarchy in the Arena. In fact, he was the guy who got pinned at Anarchy in the Arena. He says that he faced the Elite in Blood and Guts, and his team won. This is all stuff that I said would be awesome last week, and I'm glad that they're touching on it. He said that last year he wrestled at All In front of 80,000 people, and he said Bryan was too injured to even make his way to to the plane. He couldn't even get there. He then goes and says, so sorry. He said that Bryan's body just can't handle it. He said, let's be in the moment, and Swerve promises that he is the most dangerous man in AEW and that Bryan will not be walking out of All In as champion. And when he's done with Bryan may never walk again, period. Swerve and Nana then begin to walk away, but Bryan stops them and says he has one more promise. He promises that if Swerve beats him at All In, Bryan won't ever wrestle again. Guys, we've been hearing about it all year since Bryan made this announcement that this was going to be his last year as a full-time wrestler. That would just be that, as a full-time wrestler. We were all expecting that, sure, Bryan will retire, but we'll see him wrestling here and there, that he'll be showing up every once in a while for important stuff or fun stuff. But no, he is promising that if Swerve beats him, this will be it, and he will 100% never wrestle again. He extends his hand to Swerve and says, title versus career. Hold on, what is this tweet? It's pretty crazy because Bryan Danielson just said he's never wrestling again if he doesn't win the world title at All In which a normal wrestling story guarantees Bryan is wrestling, but you never know with this guy. I actually agree. I don't know what that second, thank you. If somehow Tony Khan can't convince Bryan Danielson to win the world title, Swerve should just go off the script and shouldn't kick out from the Busaiku knee. I've been advocating for a reverse screw job where we make Bryan win against his will. But just to finish up with the segment before I give my thoughts on it, they shake hands and Swerve says to him that it's very noble to try and make this promise, but don't keep it to him. Instead, make sure to keep it to his family, to Bryan's family. Bryan wakes his way backstage where Renee tries to talk to him, tries to get a word in, but Bryan is intercepted by Jeff Jarrett and the Slapnuts, who try to hype him up and say, that's how you go all in. Bryan then slaps Jarrett's hat out of his hand, and he says, if you want to see how all in he is, meet him in the ring next week. I don't know why we're getting this. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if Bryan just really wants to wrestle Jeff Jarrett. I don't know what this is, but babyface Jeff Jarrett going against technically babyface but angry Bryan Danielson was not on my bingo card for Dynamite on the lead-in to All In. But that's the world we live in. Guys. Ooh, great question from David O'Sullivan. David asking, more importantly, ignoring ownership rights, do we get Flight of the Valkyries Bryan Danielson for All In? I mean, technically, he could. We already sort of have a Flight of the Valkyries entrance for him regardless, but it's just a different version than the one he had in WWE, and it segues into a different song. But I feel the play is going to be Final Countdown. I don't know. I don't know how, like, I feel like that has to be the move. I feel like that has to be it, whether or not Bryan actually loses or retires or whatever. I feel like for a match of that magnitude with 80,000 people, Final Countdown is just, it's going to hit. It's going to hit. Eric asking in the comments, Jeff Jarrett, or saying in the comments, Jeff Jarrett getting added to make it a triple threat. I am flabbergasted by how much Jeff Jarrett we're getting right now. For a second there last week, I was almost convinced we were going to get Jeff Jarrett versus Hangman at All In. So let's see where he lands. BX asking, if he gets the yes back, could he use a similar version to his WWE version of Flight of the Valkyries? Again, it's possible. That song is in the public domain. It's just you need to sort of, I guess, put your own spin on it at this point. And that's what we got in WWE too, a spin on it. So we'll see. I'd be fine with it. Again, you're asking, or is Final Countdown the call? I'm going Final Countdown. David saying, if Jarrett gets added, he will shave my beard in protest. I beat you to it, unfortunately, buddy. But by then, it'll probably grow back, and I'll let you shave me if that's what happens. That sounded weird. Producer boy, pull up the tweet that you pulled up. I wasn't paying attention to it because I was dealing with the comments. I'm sorry. This tweet saying, if Danielson wins the title, I will say the play is Swerve winning back at Wrestle Dream in their home state in Bryan's final match as a full-timer. I'm not against a short Bryan reign or a win at Wembley, but Swerve will need that win back in a way others won't. I don't think he needs to win it back, but I think Bryan would do it to give it to him. I've been advocating let Bryan win the title, and he can drop it as soon as All Out. I don't need him to hold that belt for long. I agree that Wrestle Dream probably makes more sense because it'll be in Washington. And that's, of course, hometown for both of those boys, and Darby Allin, who will be facing the winner of that match at Grand Slam, as he won the Battle Royal on Friday on Rampage to declare himself the #1 contender. So who knows? Lots of Washington boys. We'll see. Losing Bryan Danielson is like losing a father, this tweet said. He's not that much older than me, so maybe it's more like losing a big brother. But sure. David asking if the shaving will happen live on the pod. If that is what you guys want, I am nothing if I am not a man of the people and a man of the pod. So sure, if it gets to that, we'll do it live. And BX saying that David missed the Wolverine beard last week. It was luscious. I miss it already. BX saying losing a father. That's why we have Christian. Gonna do it. Sorry, gonna go on a quick tangent. We're not gonna get into everything because it's just a picture. But as we saw leak today, Tony Khan met with Shane McMahon. And again, I'm not going to get into all that stuff. I'm not going to get into what could happen. I'm not going to get into anything. But I will say the only thing that really gets me excited about the aspect of Shane McMahon showing up in AEW is Shane McMahon having to deal with Christian Cage. The dad jokes would be incredible. Incredible. And Christian Cage already doesn't hold back. Imagine against a man who straight up said he was so ugly they needed to put a blue dot on his face. Bring it. It is the only real reason I want to see Shane McMahon in WWE. In AEW. I'm so sorry. Hey, spoilers. What the hell? Awful. Shameful. It hasn't even been a week. We're better than that. I don't even know where I am anymore. We don't go on tangents. But yeah, that was the Bryan Danielson segment. I very much am starting to believe there's a real chance he might actually win it. After the Jeff Jarrett promo last week, after this in-ring segment this week, if they are just setting me up for my heart to be broken and for him to lose, I'm going to fucking cry. I'm not above it. I think I'm going to cry no matter what, whether or not he wins or loses at All In. I'm going to cry. But man, do I want to see Bryan Danielson as AEW champion. Man, do I really want that. As the leading podcast in dad jokes, some of those Shane dad jokes might violate some NDAs, says Rev. You're not wrong, pal. Producer boy, pull up that tweet. Bryan Danielson, your family will never love you as much as the fans. Dump them losers. Oh my God. Look, I won't go that far. I'm sure his family loves him a little more than we do. That said, do I have heat with a 6-year-old, soon to be 7-year-old? Yes, I do. Or maybe she is 7 now. I don't know. Do I have heat with a child? Yes. I will never use strong words like hate. But am I very angry at a child? Yes, I am. It's not selfish, but it's not selfless. Subscribe for James's tears. Yeah, guys, please come subscribe to the Mark It Down podcast, where all range of emotions are on display here, and real men aren't afraid to cry. Collision Cowboy on Twitter saying, retirement stip. Oh, Tony said you're winning that title, that world title, no matter what Bryan Danielson says. I'm fine with it. I don't care if we got to knock him out beforehand. Inject him with something, hit him with something, and then just throw him in the ring and have Swerve trip and land underneath him. Do it. Bryan Danielson, AEW World Champion. I will be at Grand Slam. I want to see you with that title just once. Please. Please. This tweet saying, if Bryan Danielson loses in Wembley, I am immediately fantasy booking blow for blow Daniel Bryan versus Gunther for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. A lot wrong there, but that match would be insane. And I don't know if Bryan's body can physically withstand Gunther at this point. But I guess it is time to move on, as much as we all love talking about Bryan Danielson. We have a mix-old match, as we have the Conglomeration, which this matchup had Tomohiro Ishii, Orange Cassidy, and Ring of Honor World Champion Mark Briscoe taking on Roosh, TheBeast Mortos, and Roderick Strong. Okay, that's a group. I'm just going to say real quick, I've been struggling to understand what the Conglomeration is. I like them. I like every member of that group. I love Orange Cassidy. I love Ishii. I love Mark Briscoe. I love Kyle O'Reilly, who just did the entrance with them. Let's see. We got this comment here. What did they trip and land under? Wait, what did they trip and land under Death Them? How the Reverend meets his wife. God. Rev, that's on you. Bring it up in the fantasy football chat. I've been struggling to understand what this Conglomeration is. You have an immensely popular talent in Orange Cassidy. You have Kyle O'Reilly, who is definitely warm with the crowd. And you have Mark Briscoe, who is week in and week out entertaining the crowd. Your Ring of Honor World Champion and was a key player in last week's Blood and Guts, and successfully defended his Ring of Honor title against Roderick Strong 2 days later at Death Before Dishonor. He's on fire. But there's no connective tissue between these guys. And then I saw Ishii, who, this wasn't his first night with them, but seeing him shoulder to shoulder with them, it reminded me, this is the AEW equivalent of New Japan's Chaos Group, where they're just a bunch of baby faces who work together sometimes. And quite frankly, I'm all here for it. Now that I get it, now that I get what it is, and it's not meant to be anything bigger, I'm here for it. They are a fun group, and this match reflected it. It was messy. It was silly. There was no real flow to it. Out the gate, you had Orange Cassidy playing as a matador against TheBeast Mortos, who is, if you guys didn't know, a bull. And Orange used his denim jacket as a cape. And the bull just kept charging him. It was really funny. It then transitioned into TheBeast taking on Ishii, and those meaty men meated. They done meated together, and you know me, they went meat for meat, and I love it. I'm hungry and I'm going to eat. After that transitioned into Ring of Honor champion Mark Briscoe taking on the former Ring of Honor champion Roosh. And then that transitioned into Briscoe getting dropped by Roderick Strong. Lots of mess here. I'm all for it. Mark was able to get Roderick to the outside. He hits a massive blockbuster off the apron, and then he uses a chair that was propped up to then dive onto the other two members of the team as we went to commercial break. Hold on, notes on this one. Again, it tended to be pure chaos. The finish coming, in a way, I'm going to skip a lot of it just because, not that it was all silly, but it was just a lot of fun, fast-paced stuff. I think the best highlight of the match, I don't know if Producer Boy can pull it up, but it was Orange Cassidy hitting multiple tilt-a-whirl slams, or tilt-a-whirl DDTs onto TheBeast. And by saying multiple DDTs, that's wrong. He just did multiple tilt-a-whirls. Like, he just kept tilting that whirl, or he just kept whirling that tilt. I don't know. It didn't make sense. It looked great. It was silly. It was awesome. It was fast-paced. Eric asking, didn't we have him on the pod? Who? And then Rev saying, Orange misses his best friend, so he's trying to find more. There's the conglomeration. I don't even know if that's true. I don't even know if it was Orange who set this up. I think it was more Mark Briscoe. Briscoe just kind of said, we're a conglomeration, and everyone just sort of agreed. And why not? I'm not going to say no to Mark Briscoe.
Pretty quick. Look at this. Pretty quick. Look.
Oh, yeah, pull it up if you can. Maybe without sound, if possible, so we don't get copyrighted. I guess we'll wait for that. But the fit. Oh, here we go. Look at this. This was insanity. 3 or 4 tilt-a-whirls. It was just excellent. And then they didn't quite nail the landing, but he was able to recover it with a nice chip up. Just excellent work by Orange. Again, silly, funny stuff. But the finish coming as Mortos pinned Mark Briscoe. So I guess they might be heating Mortos up for a Ring of Honor title shot against Briscoe. But I'm getting sick and tired of seeing Mark taking the pin in these multi-man matches. This is your Ring of Honor World Champion. And I know that doesn't necessarily mean the same thing it used to. But he's your Ring of Honor World Champion. He should not be taking the pin when you have other people in a match. When you have, I love Ishii, but Ishii could afford a pin. So I guess maybe this is setting up Mortos going after Briscoe for the Ring of Honor title on Ring of Honor TV. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, not super thrilled with that booking decision, but it's been consistent. We got this comment here from Rev. Briscoe going off that first week definitely led to them being together for a minute, but it does play into Orange's story. Yeah, no, I agree. I just think that this was way more of a Mark Briscoe, not idea, but way more of a Mark Briscoe moment than an Orange moment. Some things to finish off on. I love Mortos. I loved him going back to TNA when he was Black Taurus. I think this guy has everything. He is such an explosive talent. Rev, I saw you say, you get it finally. That's who that is. Yes. I love this guy. He is explosive. He is fast. He is powerful. He's got a great look with that mask. I'm all for them pushing him to the moon. Yeah, a lot of Haas stuff here with Roosh, Ishii, and Mortos just going at it. So good stuff. Fun, silly match. We then move on to a backstage segment with the Acclaimed, who are not breaking up, by the way. I'm enjoying. Apparently the Acclaimed have beef with FTR. I missed this because I didn't watch Collision, so I apologize, guys. We now have Max Caster consistently calling himself the best wrestler in the world. They're disappointed that FTR didn't come to Dynamite tonight to confront them, but they will be going to Collision on Saturday to try and get a little even after FTR talks some shit apparently against the Acclaimed, or at the very least Max Caster. So fun little backstage segment there. We got a tweet here. I don't know if this is this real, producer boy? All right. Shane McMahon on his meeting with Tony Khan. Tony and I were connected through a mutual friend, and we had a great meeting. We talked about many things, but mostly about our shared love for the business and the rewards and challenges of working with family. I congratulated him on the 5-year anniversary of AEW and look forward to how he evolves the business moving forward. Okay. And that was through Bully Ray, apparently. Thank you, Eric, for the clarification on that. Guys, I'll do a little bit of a tangent there because we're coming off the Acclaim segment. There's not much to say about that. I don't know how I feel about Shane McMahon coming to AEW. I am 100% willing to give it a shot. I am 100% happy to admit I loved Shane early on in his wrestling career. And I think Shane had some very creative ideas behind the scenes earlier on in his career. A lot of people credit that Shane was kind of the first person to come up with the NXT idea that eventually Triple H ran with. I don't know what in 2024 Shane McMahon has to offer. Thank you. I don't necessarily have an issue with Shane showing up briefly. I think that could be a lot of fun. Ooh, I'm getting a little scratchy on my screen. I have no issue with Shane McMahon popping up somewhere in AEW. I have no problem with the concept of Shane McMahon. But I am struggling to think about what Shane McMahon offers. Do I want to see him wrestle? Do I want to see him wrestle long term? Do I want him on the creative team? Do I want him helping out backstage? I don't know. Producer Boy brought up a funny thing earlier where he doesn't believe the allegations. That's such a strong word nowadays. But he doesn't believe the claims against Shane McMahon and how he tried booking that Royal Rumble that got him fired. I don't know what's true. I wasn't there. I don't know any of it. What I do know is it did become kind of clear in the back end of Shane's run with WWE. Somebody who was always touted as being very selfless and being very about the business and being very about the boys seemed to suddenly become a little bit more about himself. We were seeing him put himself into stories and into places that he didn't really fit. What up, Logan? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I hope. Oh, happy birthday, Logan. Happy birthday to you. I would sing the birthday song, but then we would get copyrighted. But no, in my heart, I am singing it to you. And I hope you had a great day. I hope you enjoyed Dynamite tonight. And thank you for joining us. And thank you for spending your birthday with us. You're awesome. But moving on. Back to Shane real quick. Bottom line, it's exciting, it's interesting, it's a little scary, but we could live in a world where a McMahon is working for a wrestling company that doesn't have the initials WWE. It's a crazy concept to wrap my head around, but hey, there's only one person to thank for that, and his name is Vince McMahon. He did this to his family. So they want to work in wrestling elsewhere. Aw, shucks. Going back to the comments real quick. Logan saying, thank you, Mark It Down. I'm a big fan of yours. Logan, we're a big fan of you. And we really appreciate it. We're going to get copyrighted. So, Logan, enjoy it. Appreciate you, producer boy, and for me. Rev saying he doesn't want Shane to wrestle, and he doesn't know what he currently offers as a manager on screen, except either joining the Elite or being better Christopher Daniels. And he doesn't love either of those. There is no way that was a non-copyrighted song, producer boy. It's the birthday song. It just with different notes. All right, fine. If you want to play it for him for 9 seconds. You're muted. I don't know if you know you're muted. Oh, there you go. Logan, this is for you. Oh, boy. But, all right. That's really all I have to say on the Shane stuff. There's no point in really getting into it. Did it go in the public domain? Look, I'm not a Marines biologist. I just know for years you couldn't hear the birthday song in anything. And I guess we're above the law. But moving on. Oh, Logan asking a question here. We're going to switch up real quick. What do we think if Nia Jax wins the title at SummerSlam, Flair returns, wins the title off Nia, and Tiffany cashes in and wins? And you're welcome for the birthday song, Logan. Logan, please don't take this the wrong way. I hope this doesn't offend you in any way. I have absolutely no desire in this world to ever see Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax in a ring. What? Okay. So yeah, I the last time I remember them being in the ring together, they actually came to real blows. They actually really tried beating the crap out of each other. And I actually just don't need Charlotte Flair anywhere near a title for a very long time. So I would rather see Tiffany just cash in on Nia, but who knows? Maybe she'll cash in on Bayley. We'll see. But moving back, we had what was, I thought, a very, very interesting promo, a backstage promo, where Renee Paquette is interviewing Mariah May. They're both sitting down, and Mariah is, quite frankly, annoyed to be having this interview with Renee. She says she doesn't understand how there are still questions. There shouldn't be any questions left. She has explained it. She got close to Tony. She got closer to Tony than anybody else ever has. She knows Tony better than anybody else. And then she did what she had to do. Renee asks, why Tony? She said that Tony never did anything to Mariah May. So why do this? And she said, that's exactly the point. She didn't need to do anything. And that's what made this so perfect for Mariah. Renee tries asking more questions, but Mariah has no interest in continuing the interview. She tells her as such, and Renee, looking somewhat frightened, walked away, and Mariah was left there smiling, looking maniacal, and looking like a killer, if I'm going to be honest. We then go back to the ring, but we're on the ramp, and Tony is there, made up in, quite frankly, a scary, scary set of paint, as she had her eyebrows like painted like all the way up. She looked like an old black and white starlet, like on the screen. It was not comfortable. She said that she still loved Mariah, and that they will, I guess, I forget exactly what she said for what the match will be. Oh, Rev saying he still feels bad for Mina Shirakawa. Well, who knows what side she's on? Maybe she's still enjoying both of them, just separately now. I don't know how that'll work, but feel bad for not Mina, really. No, she's thriving right now. She's thriving right now, Rev. But yes, Tony looks unhinged. Tony looks... I didn't say anything bad. I didn't say anything bad. No bonks here. Tony looks unhinged. This feels like we're going to start pivoting this Hollywood character into new territory. And I think if you're going to keep this character going, this is exactly the type of stuff you need to do. This is exactly the type of stuff that's going to keep her fresh. So I'm very interested in this matchup. We've all been waiting for this matchup to happen for quite some time. A vicious Tony is going to be a scary thing because Mariah May is already vicious. So these two women just hacking away at each other is going to be something terrifying and special. And it should be noted, Tony went back up the heel tunnel. I don't know if she just did it to do it or if there was some significance behind it, but very interesting note for something that they pay a lot of attention to in AEW. We then had a women's matchup as Camille, the Brickhouse Camille, made her debut taking on local enhancement talent Brittany Jade. Camille was explosive right out the gate, charging her in the corner, backing her up into the corner, wailing on her, making quick work of her. After throwing her into the opposite corner and just again continuing to wail on her, she runs at her and hits sort of a flying leg drop guillotine. I didn't quite see it. I didn't quite understand what it was. It kind of looked like Camille ate more shit than the talent did, but hey, the commentary knew what it was. It didn't look like a botch to them, and they sold it very well. So maybe I just got to look at it from a different angle, and the camera angle didn't do it justice. But very interesting move from Camille, who then finishes the match with a dominator, a sit-down dominator, kind of similar to the Rochambeau that Ricky Starks would hit, but instead just going forward as opposed to the side, getting the 1, 2, 3. After the match, Mercedes walks in and has Camille raise her hand as she has her heel on top of Brittany Jade. I'm telling you guys, heel Mercedes is working so much better than babyface Mercedes. We got this quick comment from Logan, who thinks Cody Rhodes will defeat Solo and the real tribal chief, Roman Reigns, will come back. Jimmy Uso will cost the Bloodline the tag team titles on Friday, and Jimmy comes out at SummerSlam not alone, but with Heyman, Jay, and Roman. It's possible. We'll definitely see. I would not be shocked for a Roman return. BX saying Tony has a lot of eras and genres of Hollywood to play with, femme fatale being a huge one. I agree, man. I think that'll be a great switch up for the character. Heel Mercedes is where the Moné is at. One, bravo. Well done. Two, she sold it very well. They acknowledged that at San Diego Comic-Con, it was made official that she will be defending the TBS Championship against Britt Baker, DMD, at All In. Mercedes, again, sounds just so much more comfortable, so much more confident, and I think I'm really gonna dig this partnership with Camille. I think this is kind of an ingredient that Mercedes needed. And even though Camille has been silent so far, and as I believe going to stay the strong silent type, just being there, just her presence is adding so much to this heel character for Mercedes. So great work from all three women. Brittany Jade did the best she could as the jobber of the week. And Camille, looking forward to more in ring work from her. And Mercedes as a heel, top marks. Moving on, we are now at our main event as we have Hangman Adam Page taking on Darby Allin, both coming off of their blood and guts matchup last week. If you guys thought last week's match was brutal, you're absolutely right. But man, was this a different type of brutal. Hangman, heel Hangman. I'm just going to say it. I don't feel good saying it, but I'm going to say it. It's kind of a dick. Kind of wrestles like an asshole. Right out the gate, these guys were going at it. Trading blows, trading shots. Darby is able to quickly throw out Hangman to the outside. He then attempts to hit a coffin drop to the outside from the top rope, but Hangman is able to catch him and hit him with a German suplex up the ramp. Hold on, we got one last comment before we go further into this match from Rev. Camille works perfectly for Mercedes. Can't remember the last time she had a heavy, but it's so in her character to avoid a fight, especially as a Hollywood star now. I completely agree. Again, perfect package with now a nice Camille-shaped bow on top. But yes, Hangman hits a gnarly German suplex onto Darby up the ramp. He then tosses Darby into the barricade. Darby starts crawling his way up the ramp, and Hangman is following in suit, but with a chair in hand. The entire walk up the ramp, Bryce Remsburg, the referee, is fighting with Hangman to make sure he doesn't hit him with the chair, and reminding him the last time, as Hangman starts jawing back at him, that Hangman got suspended last time for attacking a referee. So Hangman throws the chair down, and allows just enough time for Darby to hit a Stun Dog Millionaire onto Hangman, and allows Darby to climb. If we could get this producer boy in any way on a tweet, Darby to climb up on top of one of the entrance tunnels and hits a massive coffin drop to Hangman Adam Page. Great bit before we go to commercial break. As we get to commercial break, Hangman, both men, oh, this is it. Nice spot. Darby jumping off the tunnel with that coffin drop was just, again, a week after Blood and Guts. Just insanity. As we go to the commercial, Hangman regains that control during the commercial break. And as we come back, he continues his domination. We had a weird moment in the ring. Yes, as Okada is about to point out, someone in the truck accidentally turning off the lights during Darby versus Hangman. Yep, that's the new headcanon. It is absolutely Okada. But yeah, it was an awkward, I guess, 10 to 15 seconds as all the lights went out. Even commentary said, oh, I was expecting somebody to show up and attack there. Probably wouldn't have said it, but yeah, awkward moment, but they were able to quickly bounce back from that. Page then hit 3 power bombs onto the apron before hitting a gigantic fall-away slam on the Darby onto the steel steps that were now propped in the middle of the outside. I don't know why Darby's taking this. I don't know why he's doing this. I know he's crazy. I know that. But it was just huge. Darby eventually makes a comeback and gains the upper hand after avoiding a pile driver onto those same steps. Hangman again regains control and hits a Deadeye, and just this man was vicious. These are the I don't know if producer boy could pull them back up. Those were the power bombs onto the apron. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to Twitter at that moment. Hangman hits 2 Deadeyes right in the middle of the ring, and that second Deadeye, Darby is just hanging off of Hangman's back. He just was not home. Hangman then goes to the apron, sets up for the buckshot lariat after it takes several moments for Darby to get up. As he finally gets up, he goes for the buckshot, but Darby is so knocked out that he collapses and Hangman misses the clothesline. At this moment, he just looks so angry, and it looks like he still wants to do more damage, but Darby is able to pop up, roll him up, get the pin, and incensed Hangman is left in the ring as Darby runs out himself and up the ramp. Hangman then goes under the ring, starts throwing chairs into the ring, and we're finally seeing Hangman's rage, his anger, his brutality start to cost him. Because now this is a guy who's getting sloppy. He could have pinned him after those 2 after those 2 Deadeyes. He had him beat, but he gave him just enough time to recover and to miss the buckshot lariat and to be able to pin him himself. Darby getting a massive win on the road to Allin. Hangman 2 losses in a row. Last week with Blood and Guts. This week in singles action. He's not getting Swerve, so I don't know who he's going against at Allin. We all think it's going to be Okada, but at this point, with no other elite members on the show, with no Jack Perry, with no Okada, with no Young Bucks, who knows? Not a lot of progress on that front. But guys, we did it. That was Dynamite. Yeah, that's true from Rev in the comments. Darby won Blood and Guts, the Rampage Battle Royal, for a title shot, and he beat Hangman. Hell of a run for Darby, who has a #1 contender spot for the world title at Grand Slam in September. Nobody could say he's not going to be hot going into it. So great work from, I don't even know what to describe Darby as. I don't know, the madman himself. But yeah, guys, that was Dynamite. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I thought we had some great wrestling in the form of Darby Allin versus Hangman, Willow Nightingale versus Kris Statlander, in Will Ospreay versus Lance Archer. We had some great promos. That is a great question there, Logan. Thank you for asking. Hold on, I'll pull it right now. Our Twitter, our X, I should say, is at marketdown_pod. Go find us there. We do tweet pretty regularly. We do tend to comment and and poke in on certain things that's going on in the wrestling world. And for the big events like this Saturday's SummerSlam, I'm sure somebody will be live tweeting. Yep, if you look on the bottom right of our screen, I can't point. There you go. You have our Twitter, our Instagram, where we're way more active on Instagram. And of course, there's our YouTube link as well if you are checking us anywhere else. I want to tell you guys that was a bit about the pointing, but it wasn't. I'm just kind of an idiot. Thank you, Logan, for the follow. We do appreciate it. I mean it. We do appreciate you. But yeah, guys, Allin is just a couple of weeks away. I think we're under a month now. And we have some very exciting matchups. A lot of stories were developed tonight. Bryan Danielson is messing with my brain, and I don't appreciate it. MJF and Will Ospreay have a fiery feud going on right now. And this destruction of Hangman is a tough thing to see. But I'm still going to be watching week in and week out. But guys, thank you so much for joining me here tonight at the Mark It Down podcast. We are inching our way closer to 1,000 subscribers. We're very excited. We're very proud, and we're very happy, and we're very grateful that you guys have been on this journey with us. If you are a new watcher, if you just tuned in, or you're not already following us, we would appreciate it. The more of you guys there are, the more we can do and the more fun we can have together. And trust me, I promise you, we're coming up with some really fun ideas once we hit that 1,000. We're really looking to make this as interactive a group as possible, and we want to have fun with you guys. And you guys know the deal. We have fun pretty much every night of the week. We cover WWE, we cover AEW, we cover TNA. I have been failing at covering the G1, but I'm thinking I might do weekly reports on that. So we'll see. We will be covering SummerSlam this Saturday. I somehow doubt. That is a great question, BX. How was House of Glory? House of Glory was great. Somebody pull it up for me because I can't pull it up for some reason. House of Glory was great. It had excellent matchups. The back half of the card, the whole card was great, but the back half of the card really amped things up. Our boys, the main event, unfortunately losing the House of Glory tag team titles, but I believe in them. They will get their stuff back sooner than later. They will get their revenge on Charles Mason. We got to meet the AEW champion himself, Swerve Strickland. Guys, awesome. It was a lot of fun to see him wrestle live against the Amazing Red, one of the best indie talents there ever has been. And yeah, guys, always go check out your indie wrestling. Go check out your local promotion. You'll be shocked at how much great action you'll find on a smaller scale. But yeah, guys, check us out everywhere. I did the whole spiel. You know when to check us out every night. Check us out on our social media. I already told Logan about it, but now I'm telling everybody else.